Hello and welcome to your Creepiest Corner. I'm your host, as usual, Ariel Hansen, and today I have with me
Rhiannon
and Dulcinea Circelli.
And now this is a very special episode because it's our first one with folks from out of town. That's right, so we might not be in their Creepiest Corner today, but why don't you tell the folks watching where you are visiting from?
We're visiting from Los Angeles. This is the creepiest corner I've been in all day today, though, I have to say.
Definitely. I pride myself on the creepiness of Bad Cookie Central.
We're enjoying it very much. We came out because we had a table read for a script we're working on called Red Wings with My Tribe Entertainment. So we came out to watch that and participate in that, and that was really great.
So why did you come to Vancouver for a table read of this script?
Well, our partner, Dana Hammer, did a feature adaptation of an idea I had about tampon vampire bats, and she had submitted it to Vancouver Badass Film Festival for their script competition, and we won the prize for Best Feature Script, and so the table read was provided by Rowan Jang and My Tribe, and so we came out to see that happen.
Cool beans.
Yeah, and so we're really excited, and we're looking to produce this feature in Canada with Canadian talent and Canadian directors, and I'm really excited for the potential of international collaboration, and that's really great.
So now, what's some of the previous work you've done in the past in the horror genre?
I'm a conceptual and performance artist mainly, and we've started doing some horror films. My first horror film was a short called Spider. That was originally a short story that Dana had written that Dulcinea adapted
the script into a script.
And it was my first time producing, and it was also my first time acting.
Yeah, I directed her, and so it was like a very close collaboration between the two of us, and still is. We're like in the process of post-production on that film.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was also my first time. It was like my third short film that I directed and wrote. But with Rhiannon and Dana, but it was the first time we got a celebrity to be in the cast, so that was kind of cool.
And who's that celebrity?
It was Ron Jeremy. He plays an evil spider.
Ah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're in post-production for Spider. What are you planning to do with it once you've completed it?
It's a good question.
We wanted to go to a lot of festivals and get a lot of festival attention. So that's the goal right now is once we finish, we want to get it into all the horror festivals we can, all of the comedy festivals we can, and just, get some buzz going for the film that way.
And how did you get Ron Jeremy into your film?
Well, that is a kind of a long story. I have apparently some very strange karma with Ron. I met him for the first time when I was 17 at a gas station on Sunset Boulevard. And I was in a car full of guys, and one of them said, "Hey, isn't that Ron Jeremy? Let's go take a picture with him." So we did. And I didn't see him again for years. And about 3 years ago, I was on the Susan Block show, which is a live webcast that is about like art and sexuality and different social issues, and Ron was on with us a couple times, and so I knew him through Susan's, and we had performed together on her show, and so I saw him again. It was like the fourth time I'd seen him, and he said, we should really hang out, and I was talking to him a little bit, and I was joking with Dana. I said maybe we were originally going to use a rubber spider, and then Dana and I were joking on Facebook, and I said, what if we could get Ron Jeremy into a spider costume? She said, that's some bucket list quality stuff. So I was like, all right, I'll make this call and I'll see what we can do. And he said yes. And so that was how we...
Sounds like you're a producer who knows how to wheel and deal.
It's the first time I had ever produced a film. So
you're natural
very
then.
Good at it.
I mean, I had produced performance art before then, though, and the thing is that film I am learning is much more forgiving than performance art because you can get a second chance. I mean, there's some shots that are really expensive where you don't really have a second chance, but for the most part, it's much more forgiving. Whereas performance, it's so much attention, so much focus to getting it to be this moment, especially when you're using horror conventions in performance, because you have to also be kind of like a magician. You really taught me that. It's
So now that we're talking about your performance art, maybe if you want to tell us about your favorite performance art project you've done.
I think right now Illegal Operation, which is the one that Dulcinea was in, is the one that was like the most profound for me. And I really carried a lot of the production on that one. It was for my thesis exhibition at Cal State Long Beach, and it was really the first time that university had hosted a performance kind of that nature, that had live art, that had a lot of discussion about like the body and sexual politics and BDSM and fake blood. I wanted to use pasteurized horse blood in the beginning, and they wouldn't let me, so we used the fake blood, and that was all right. But that was also the first time Sherry and I had used fake blood in a performance, so that was really interesting because we usually use real blood, and we couldn't at this venue. So, that one I think was possibly the one that also tipped me into the horror genre a little bit more because of the level of simulation that was part of that performance.
Are you able to describe what the performance was?
Yeah, we did a simulated illegal abortion. It was in response to the American abortion legislation debate that is unfortunately still raging. We did this performance in 2017.
Yes, very, very recently, 2 years ago.
Yeah, hoping that, things would improve, and they have in fact gotten much worse. So, I'm still kind of grappling with the social relevance of that. But, Sherry Rose was with us, and she was the attending physician on this performance, and we did a simulated abortion where we put a prop rabbit into my vagina, and Sherry extracted it. And
I helped insert the rabbit.
You did, which is why you were cast as the gynecologist for Red Wings, because you were uniquely qualified.
Oh, I just found that out. I thought it was because I was a pre-med in college.
Well, that too. You were uniquely qualified for many reasons, including that you stuffed rabbit into my nether bits.
I mean, you just don't really know your friends until you have helped, midwife and insert, their thesis project, the bloodied toy rabbit into your friend's vagina, and said break a leg, and then we just started performing. And Sherry came out in this. She's like a 70-year-old woman, right? 72-year-old woman in a big white gown, and she did this whole shamanic ritual over Rhiannon while she was holding her legs closed and like lying down
bound in
plastic wrap. Yeah. Oh, and I wrapped her in plastic wrap too. Yeah.
You mentioned that your performance art sort of brought you more towards horror, but what made you really interested in horror? Whether it was something as a kid or something later in life.
I remember Gremlins was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid.
I loved it. Classic.
Yeah, and everyone thought it was kind of really weird because most little girls were not into Gremlins when they were 8. But I would watch it obsessively, and then once I got kind of into art school, I started watching. I had Netflix in the early days when it was just the mail order disc.
Oh.
But I couldn't afford cable, so I would just watch film, a film every night and send the DVD back, and I had the Premium 3 one, and it would just, keep rotating. So I started watching all of this independent international horror, and I started getting into Takashi Miike, and watched all of his films, and then I started doing kind of horror genre studies, so I started watching all the zombie movies. Right now I'm doing feminism and revenge violence is what I'm really looking at. So kind of The Last House on the Left, Day of the Woman, I Spit on Your Grave, Kill Bill models. What about you?
Oh God, so I was raised in a very, very religious household, but also my father was a huge, huge classic movie fan, and he loved classic monster movies and Vincent Price, and would rent every classic monster movie for me, and then I wasn't allowed to watch any sex or kissing when I was a little kid, but for some reason I could watch all the violence I wanted.
It's very American.
Yeah. Isn't that the rating system as well?
Yes. This is a very American thing. You could have very strict parents, but a dad who likes horror movies. And so as soon as I was 6 years old, I was out with dad watching these bloody horror movies. And I guess for whatever reason, as a child, I had a pretty good I knew it was a movie, and so I really appreciated just the good horror movies and how scary they were, Alien and Aliens 2, and the bad ones The Blob and the stuff. Like, I just like,
the
it
stuff
was like
is so
really
weird.
fun.
like the yogurt that attacks
Yeah.
you. I mean, it's so stupid. It's yogurt. It
Are you
attacks
eating it or is it
It
eating
kills
you?
you. Yeah. And I mean,
That's why it's scary, because it's so stupid, right? Like, the
Right.
mundane things that go wrong tend to be so much scarier than, like, the fantastical things, because we're surrounded by them.
Now, you mentioned Gremlins, but currently, what is your favorite horror film? This is a question for each of you to answer separately.
So hard to choose. Hollow Child, which I saw at VBAF, was kind of amazing. That one really stuck with me in a certain way as a parent. There's something like really eerie about that changeling mythology playing out in that way. What else have I seen that was kind of amazing recently?
I really liked Train to Busan because I love zombie stories, and that one was pretty scary.
I really want to see that one. That's the second time that has come up on this trip.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, and the American Ring was pretty terrifying when I first saw it, and of course, like I saw the Japanese one later, and that was also scary. So those were like the most recent ones that really scared me. Like recently, a lot of horror movies have been disappointing, like that have come out. I can't name one specifically, like in the past 5 years that I've been that impressed with. Oh, Unsane. That was probably the scariest that I've seen in the past 5 years. That one and Hereditary.
I haven't seen that one.
So, why don't we talk a bit more about Red Wings then? What can you tell us about the plot? Or just give us your pitch for it.
Well, Dana usually does the pitch, and she's not here because she's elsewhere pitching other things. But the general summary is that a woman is bit by a bat, tiny, strange red bat, and shortly after this, she realizes that all of her menstrual products are turning into bats when she bleeds on them.
Ah.
She's birthing bats.
Yes, in spades.
Blood Mother.
And, you know, she's also being stalked, and so this is part of the general plot as well. But it's mostly about her kind of learning to accept what's going on with her, and then how does she use this power she's now found? What does she do with it? What choices do you make when you're wielding that kind of power and you're confronted in a situation where your life is in danger, or you're facing the patriarchy also, and how do you interface with that? There's a lot of those issues going on in that script, and a lot of menstrual jokes and little creature feature action going on.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where can people find you guys online?
Well, you can go to the spidermovie.com if you want to sign up to get one of the early copies of Spider, or a poster, or anything else. We still have some of those available. You can follow me on social media on Facebook or Twitter under Rhiannon Ahrens, or go to rhiannonarens.com to find more on me.
And I'm on Instagram as dulcinea.circelli.official. And also I can be found on Facebook as Dulcinea Circelli, and on IMDb as Dulcinea Circelli. There's only one me.
It's a nice thing about having weird names.
Yeah.
Hard to spell, easy to find.
Wish my name was a little bit weirder.
You can get a weird middle one.
Hmm?
You could give yourself a weird middle one.
Could, but that's too much work. Gotta come up with a name. If you're born with it, you're just used to it. You remember how to spell it always.
Not always.
Well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.